Broadway has played a huge role in the film industry. Incorporating musical acts with regular acting has been around for as long as we can remember. But in the mid 20th century, one film laid down a standard other musicals could look up to. Today's picture takes us to 1950s New York, where two rival gangs battle it out for supremacy of the neighborhood. The Jets, a dominant and fierce group of individuals that have run the street for so long, versus the Sharks, a young and defiant group of Puerto Ricans. We follow Tony, a former Jet who, as faith would have it, falls in love with Maria, who just so happens to be the sister of Bernardo, the leader of the Sharks. The perfect storm is brewing between the two groups, and the love story is the eye of the hurricane. Can true love prevail, or will tragedy strike? Tonight, we put our rockets in our pockets as we do a discussion of sorts on the 1962 Broadway hit classic, West Side Story. This is a Comic Talkers production, and you are listening to a I Feel Pretty, Oh So Pretty edition of Just Four Flicks. What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Patty B. With me, as always, is Mr. B Dog, Mr. Brandon. I think I think you're Team Sharks, though, aren't you? You Team Sharks?
Hey, they snapped too. I'm doing good. I've heard the prettiest sound of all of them. Maria, Maria. I'm excited for this. We're getting into musicals. This is something fun. I think it's going to be unique also for Patrick and I because we don't watch a lot of musicals.
No, we do not.
But the one thing, and I think fans don't know this about us, we actually bonded not only off of wrestling, but also our love of one particular musical, Hamilton. We used to work together, fans. We talked about it so much because I was singing a song in the shower one time when we were cleaning a shower that did not sound right, but I'll make it right. And I
Was
was thinking,
cleaning a giant shower.
and you were like, wait a minute, isn't that isn't it Washington's on your side from Hamilton?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Must
And
be nice. It must be nice
to have Washington on your
to
side.
have the Jets on your side.
But this is one because this is a movie I pitched for Pat because I know I wanted to take it to classical
No,
musical.
definitely, definitely.
And you'll see a
Yeah.
couple other movies we do throughout the month. We're going to have Singing in the Rain. We're going to have 1776, which we're going to have a good friend of ours, Mary, come on with us. Uh,
Mhm.
and then you chose more recent, where you chose Sweeney Todd and you chose other ones. And I think that's the neat thing about what we're doing here is because we come from different aspects of what we love about musicals. And let's go into it, Pat.
Yeah.
What was your take on West Side Story?
I mean, you know, overall, I mean, I think the movie is for a certain demographic, right? I think it's kind of like a timepiece in certain aspects. I mean, it is, right? It takes place in the late 50s. I think if you're into theater or musical, it's definitely a must see.
Mm-hmm.
But to the average movie watcher like yourself and I just wouldn't recommend it. I mean, personally. Um, I think there's brilliantly done camera work, especially for the time that this movie was done, which I will talk more about because I think that was one of the biggest parts for me of this film that I really enjoyed. Um, and it was a lot cornier than I remember it being. I think it's been almost 15 years, I think, since I've seen this movie. It just there was some parts that were kind of cringy, as far as like a quick takeaway goes from everything from watching it.
I see what you're saying there. Like it doesn't come like nowadays when you watch it and stuff. And now with the remake that's out that Steven
Yeah.
Spielberg reproduced.
Which I have not seen, by the way. I didn't
But
bother to see it. Not saying that it's bad or anything. I when we were wanting to do this, I just focused on this version alone, just because
and
that's what we
that's
were doing.
and I think that's totally fine because in reality too, I think that was Like I just watched it within the last year
Mhm.
because I was so against it being remade because this is a classic. This is something when you think musicals, this is one of the first movies that pop in my head. That and Singing in the Rain. First two that come up in my head.
Mhm.
And when even somebody like Steven Spielberg, of all people, to be the one to say, "Hey, I'll remake this," kind of was like to me, it's like, how would it feel if somebody remade one of your films? Like that's how I look at it. Like
Yeah,
his
especially for a big like director like that. I don't know, like stay
exactly,
kind of like stay in your lane, make your own movie. Like
exactly.
he's a big enough director to where he can make his own movie.
Right.
Like
You don't see somebody like Martin Scorsese do it. You don't see anybody like Quentin Tarantino. Like he'll take spoofs of stories, but he makes it his own. You don't do
yeah.
something like that with that. It
Mhm.
just was kind of a slap to the face. And for especially an iconic director, wasn't the movie terrible? No, it wasn't the worst thing to ever come out of Steven Spielberg's. But
Catalog. Yeah.
but were some of the casting choices a little weird? Yeah, like Rachel Zellweger. I didn't. I've always be kind of a Debbie Downer on her, but we'll get into it a little bit later because there is something pretty unique about the old and the new, and it develops into a certain role of the film. But let's get into the meat and potatoes a little bit. Pat, what do you think the budget of this film was?
Uh I mean, just from the looks of it, there was a lot of production value put into this, I feel like. So that's probably gonna, I mean, maybe not, maybe not, maybe not.
You got to
Um,
remember, money's a little different back then than it is
62, right, is when this was?
61. It was
61. Damn.
released.
I think I said
But
62 in the monologue.
remind you, it probably was already being made in 59, 60 time frame.
Yeah. Um, shoot, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and say, let's just go ahead and say 4 million.
You're not that far off.
Really?
You're 2 million off. It is
Okay.
6 million.
6 million. All right.
Gross worldwide was 44 million. Pretty much about
Not a bad
44
day.
million 200,000.
Not a bad day.
Yeah, not bad at all. During especially during this time.
Those days, yeah. 44 million, that's a lot of money.
Now, this movie was actually it made a lot of history with not only it being the first dual directors to ever win Best Director, but it also made history too because to me, I and fans, you can correct me if I'm wrong here. Best Supporting Actress at the time went to Rita Moreno.
Hmm.
That same role in 2021, I believe, 2020 or 2021, was won by Ariana DeBose for that same exact role.
That's crazy.
Both won the same award, both won the same thing. And Ariana DeBose is also from Hamilton. We've talked about that a little bit off camera to have that being kind of one of her first big roles, but it also shows you how much Lin Manuel Miranda's works really push actors. Because what was it? Now you got her becoming now kind of a mainstay actress. You have Anthony Ramos becoming more of a mainstay.
Hmm.
Even Stefan Diggs and Leslie Odom Jr. are really becoming big mainstay actors.
See, Stefan Diggs?
Stefan or not? Did I say Stefan Diggs? Devon.
Definitely said Stefan Diggs.
Devon
I was
Diggs.
like, the wide receiver?
The wide
He's a
receiver.
running
A wide receiver that causes too much problems. No, no. But that's what I said. This it's movies now, mind you. Let's see, Pat. See how many you know. How many awards do you think this movie was nominated for, and how many do you think they won?
back. Wasn't it about 10 or 11 awards?
They did get nominated for 10 of them.
10. Um, I would say it probably wasn't a clean sweep. I mean, was it? No,
I'd say take that back. It was 11.
11. I said 10 or 11 to cover my
Yeah,
bases. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and say it won 7 of the awards.
that's won 10 of, or 10 of them.
Way.
So it won Best Picture in 1962, won Best Supporting Actress in 1962, Best Actor, Best Director, Best Production Design, Best Cinematography, Best Costume Design, Best Film Editing, Best Sound Mixing, and Best Original Musical. The one it did not win was Best Adapted Screenplay. It was nominated.
What won that year, do you know?
That year, that was To Kill a Mockingbird,
Well,
which shocks me because that movie was big. And especially now that's got me thinking because actually, no, I take that back.
no,
We're
Bernardo, right?
not going to talk about that because he did not win. It was Best Supporting Actor.
Got it.
George Crackers or
Hmm.
won, which was the role of Bernardo, won Best Supporting Actor, and Rita won for Best Supporting Actress for Anita. Let's start off with the easiest question of them all. What's your favorite song from this film?
I think the one I enjoy the most is probably I Feel Pretty. And you know why? Because I grew up watching Anger Management. So you can thank Jack Nicholson and Adam Sandler for that iconic scene
I feel
on the
pretty. It
bridge where
feels
he
pretty.
stops in traffic and he's like, we're gonna sing the song from West Side Story.
Oh, see, that wasn't even my favorite part when they were singing that song. It's the ending scene from that movie where the guy jumps out of the tree.
Oh yeah,
How
yeah,
make you feel? I feel stunning. Oh, he feels
yeah.
stunning.
Stunning.
It's so stupid. It makes me laugh every time.
Um,
It,
that's probably my favorite song of the whole movie. When you're or when you're a jet, you're a jet.
I so mine. I like America. I like that song. It's very, very like it speaks to the immigrant side of conversations. It is a really like energetic song for its time.
Hmm.
I also love Maria. I like that song. It's very catchy, it's a nice little melody. But my favorite funny song from the film is G Officer Crucky. Like when they're sitting there making fun of the cop, when he's like, "Oh, please," like, "Oh, I got a
Yeah,
social disease." It's having those songs just make you feel good inside. Like it just makes you laugh. This movie, and I will give this props for one thing. We all know this is a very iconic take on the Romeo and Juliet story.
hmm,
This is probably by far one of the best modern takes.
gotcha. Like the best adaptions of that story is what
Yeah,
you're saying.
because I will never put Leonardo DiCaprio's depiction of it.
Uh,
I will. I hate
uh,
that
uh,
still to this
don't
day.
tell Miss Patty B that, man. That's one of her favorite movies. That
Well,
you talking about that '90s one with him and Claire Danes?
yeah, which
Yeah,
I'm going to talk about this because this is stuff that I was reading behind
fucking weird movie, dude. I just can't.
that
It's
movie to be
so
set in the
zany,
modern
dude.
times, and yet it was still the old way and how they were taught. I was like,
Bro, that's what throws me off. I just can't. I can't do it. Every time I see it, I'm like, bro, just no. It just he's like, oh half die. What?
bite the
I can't
thumb
even
at
talk
me,
like
or bite my thumb at the no, like just
bro.
like what?
I half die bowl of cereal. Like,
Well, like even see
so random.
Sereno in it too as the dad for Juliet. It just feels so weird.
Wait, you said
Paul
who?
Sereno in it is in that movie too.
Right, and that's
He's
right
the
on the
dad for Juliet.
coattails of Goodfellas,
Yeah,
bro. It's like you have that depiction in your head of Paulie. Um,
but let's talk about this because that brings up a good point. What is it with these modern takes that the people who play Romeo and Juliet tend to not get along with each other? Because Claire Danes has made it really well known that she did not like Leo on
really?
on that movie. But not only that, Richard Beimer, who plays Tony in this film, revealed that Natalie Wood actually did not really like him. And there was actually things like where she actually had like a list in her room. That's why I was reading on it a little bit because I was kind of like, okay, now I got to get into this a little bit more. Supposedly, what I was reading on it was that she had like a list in her room of people that she did not like, and his name was on that list.
Oh,
Not
really?
that um he even describes like her treatment to him, like Natalie Wood's treatment to him was like very aloof. And also, on top of believe part of the problem was actually a screen test from a previous film that went south. Um, that but within like a few years after that film, they came cross paths again. She was nice with him, but
It kind
there
of makes it that makes it even better in my opinion. It's kind of cool to know that because it's like when you watch this movie, it's like, yeah, they do a pretty decent job of of showing their love for on camera, and the way their characters interact with one another, and just to know like behind the scenes they don't like each other. Like that's pretty funny. It's
I was
awesome.
I was reading this though too. Natalie Wood was not the original person that was supposed to play Maria.
Oh,
Which when
really?
I heard who was supposedly offered the role, I'm like, how are you going to make that work? If you have two different races, right? You have white men on one side and you have Puerto Ricans on the other. How are you going to make this work? Audrey Hepburn was the one that was supposedly offered the role.
Did you not see having did you pay attention to the makeup on the face?
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, they probably could have brown faced her a little.
Yeah, but okay, you're not going to Robert Downey Jr. her face like Tropic Thunder.
Dude, that was
That you can't do
talk
that.
about all-time roles of doing that,
If that ever happened, I don't think this movie would be as iconic as it is now. Like you cannot do that. Not with her, but she was supposedly offered it, but she turned it down because she was pregnant at the time. But let's see what you think. At this time, who did you think was originally eyed to play Tony? And I'll give you a hint. He was a pretty big singer at the time.
A big singer.
Yeah.
Dean Martin?
No, he was
He would
old.
have been too old. He would have been too old,
Think
right?
younger. Think somebody from 40s, 50s that was pretty popular.
Mickey Rooney?
No, a singer.
Man, I don't know. I can't. It's not something I don't really have that in the vault of.
If I tell you the next clue, you're gonna know right away. So I don't
All right,
know.
do it. I might not know.
They portrayed him in a background role in Forrest Gump.
Oh, Elvis.
Elvis was the original one that they
Well, he was doing acting around this time too,
he
wasn't he?
was. He was already in acting films. Mhm. This guy, he was eyed for it, but Presley's manager, Colonel Tom Parker, refused it.
Or
Yeah, since Elvis would only sing in 6 of the 12 songs, and because he would not have the exclusive rights to the soundtrack, is why he turned it down. Could you have seen this movie with him in it? I don't see it.
I feel like no, I feel like it could work.
You imagine his leg.
I just think he'd probably be too star-studded.
Yeah,
Because who do you think was the biggest star in this movie? Natalie Wood,
Natalie.
right?
Yeah, Natalie.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got
So with
the.
that being said, I just think it would have looked too star-studded having him in there. I think they were trying to do this a little bit more independently. I love movies that are like that where it's a big motion pictures, but it's like the Star Wars movies. I mean, like the prequels are a perfect. Yeah, they had one or two like known actors, like Liam Neeson, Ewan McGregor had been in Train Spotting, which was a huge hit in the 90s, right leading up to Phantom
Natalie
Menace.
Portman was a newer actress.
Natalie Portman was a newer actress, kid actress, but newer actress, in the roles that she was taking. I just think this movie did a nice job of that because I mean, personally, from watching this, the only one that I could recognize was Maria's character,
Yeah.
Natalie.
Well, Natalie Wood, she's been an actress since she was a kid. She was on
Yeah.
Miracle and 34th Street. There was a lot of movies she was in. And she was the big draw. Like I will still say that. Like she was the biggest draw to the film. And I would probably say George is the next one. Like George at that time had a few the guy who plays Bernardo.
Yeah,
He was a pretty big draw at that time too.
yeah.
He was a good or better actress, and Richard, who played Tony, was also another big one. But Natalie was like the star-studded actress. But I was. That's why I said I'm now. That's why I said like when you go into context of this film, I really enjoyed like I could deal without the dancing a lot. That was one of my biggest
Dude,
things.
I think that was a kind of like a not cringy. I mean.
But
It's
mind you, it's going to be like that in Singing in the Rain, so you got to understand that. So,
yeah, I think it's that time, right? And that's the thing. I went into this not seeing it for a long time, but when I watched this kind of freshly the other day, and I've watched it a few times since then, but I was like, man, this is that the dancing has got to go.
but I want to talk about this really quickly, and I think it's a good talking point because if you
Flail around and fake hit you. Go like this.
um
I love when they go like spring up and it's like
and then all he's like, but let's talk about it. This, even though this is a depiction of Romeo and Juliet, there is one key difference, and
Mhm.
it is the ending. At the end, both of them off each other, right? Or
Yeah.
they're off. This film, Tony, who is pretty much the stand-in for Romeo, is off. But Juliet or Natalie Woods or Maria is not.
Mhm.
What was your take on that? Did you like that like different twist to it? To the
Yeah, I
story?
like that. I feel like I've seen that somewhere, and I feel like this is what they stole it from. What
Like,
movie am I referring to?
I don't want to talk about that movie.
You don't like ships and icebergs?
Not compared to this.
Because I do.
I,
Uh,
but what was your take on that? Like the ending scene? Because to me, I will put it out there. That is probably one of my favorite performances. Is that ending scene of Natalie Wood?
yeah,
That is still one of my favorite iconic moments of her.
it's
And
funny
any
because I'm pretty sure that's what's going on right now in the back.
yes. What was your
It's
take?
funny, as you're talking about it, I'm able to watch it right now in the moment. So that's pretty cool. Um, no, it's cool too, and it's a beautiful scene too with all of them in that caged in court area.
Mhm.
She takes the gun from is that
Gino.
her?
Gino.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's kind of beautiful poetry where Tony was a former Jet. He had a job of his own, just kind of wanted to be on his own and do that, right? And then man, I keep forgetting what the leader of the Jets name is.
Um, Riff.
Yeah, so yeah.
Riff.
I think it's just the fact that he didn't want to get involved in any of the gang stuff and the fact he's the one that ends up getting, offed. Yeah, man, it's just kind of crazy how that all works out, right?
Well, like,
Uh
and you got to remember, part of it is, and I think this is where my favorite depiction of the like the family's rivalry really comes into play because you have Riff and you have Bernardo go at it with each other underneath the bridge, and Riff is offed off
mhm.
by Bernardo. Tony's there witnessing it, comes out and takes the knife from Riff and offs Bernardo. I like that scene because it kind of gives you that emotional feeling like this is not like he's going back to his old ways. It's going like like you said, he escaped it. He finally found something that makes him happy. He's moving on with his life, everything like that. And now he's right back to where he was. And now he's finally finding love. And what is that going to mean when she finds out that you offed her brother?
Yeah, I think that's it's such a nice coming together moment. I think when this happens too. I mean, when you're talking about Tony's character, right? From the way it starts to the way it ends, I think it's I would say Tony's probably personally my favorite character of the movie too, from watching it a few times. Because I think he's one that everyone kind of resonates with a little bit more.
Mhm.
It's just kind of like an everyday person. He's the mediator, I think, between everything, right? For most of the movie, at least, until like what you're talking about goes back to his old ways.
But like going back to the point here too, I enjoy this scene with Natalie Woods, the ending scene.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because I like when she picks up the gun and pretty much state or the pew pew and pretty much states like, you know, now I have it. Now should I off you pretty much? Because now I'm filled with hate. All hate does is lead to more hate. All this does is because you guys have this stupid rivalry between you all. Now
Hate, hate.
Hate,
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 hate.
hate. Loathe entirely.
But that's the whole point of this film, and that's what I love her, and I love Doc. I like Doc in this film because Doc makes him understand. It's like, why don't you kids understand why this is important to us? We don't want you guys to get hurt. But one of the moments I really enjoyed was after Anita leaves and pretty much tries to lie to them, saying, "Well, tell him he's never going to see her again because Chino offed her, right?"
Mhm.
And you have Doc in there, and Doc goes, "Is this the world you guys want to build? Is this the lives you guys want to live?" And one of the Jets very much said, "We didn't build it," which was a good point to bring up
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah, yeah.
and for this to be not only a movie about Romeo and Juliet, but it's a story about race in some ways too. What was your take on that alone? Having that scene, what was your thought on that scene? That to me was a very powerful scene.
Yeah, no, definitely. It definitely stands out amongst a lot of scenes. I mean, I think I think it's kind of cool how they were able to mesh. They meshed in a lot of good things in this movie, I think, all together. Like with the whole love story being surrounded amongst the two gangs, and then also throwing the racial differences amongst that too. I think that I mean, yeah, man. There's a lot of I think that's one of the main points of this movie,
Yeah,
right? That's what we're trying to get across, especially look at the time that this was made.
yeah.
A lot of stuff was still going on in this country. I mean, a lot of stuff still is going on.
Well, in some ways, you got to remember too, the Romeo and Juliet story is what? Two rival families going at it with each other.
Yep.
Now we have really, it's two gangs going after each other, two rival gangs, two different races, everything. Like one of the other things I want to bring up is anything in this, anything, the girl that's always with them, but always wants to join. That was a big point too, because again, shows you why women are looked at differently during this time frame.
Mhm.
She wants to fit in with the Jets, but yet the Jets don't want her. But then near the end of the film, they accept her more. But it's like a difference in cultural change. It's a way everybody looks at things. It's that's why I said you bring up a good point. Everything is looked at differently. And why I like that scene too, um, like every time they're in Doc's place, they have good points they bring up to the adults. Like the cop or the detective that always comes around. They bring up a good point there. Like, hey, like he's trying to help them. Like, oh, well, I'm on your side. I'm this. But yeah, in reality, it's like, okay, do you not see that, Doc? This is why we live in the society we do today. None of us are willing to accept. They that's why I said, like, even Doc's scene when even with Tony, when you find out he's the one hiding Tony right now.
Yep.
And you had that moment where he gets on the money to find a way to escape and he's just like, "Do you not see what happens here? All the like, it is such Doc and Tony's always their react or like their portrayals to each other is such iconic to me. Like it's so iconic to me in this film.
Sticks out, right? I mean, I
Well, like
think
even
it
when
sticks
he
out
slaps Tony in the face, it was like, "Ooh, like okay, now it's
like
watch."
a disappointed father-son type of interaction,
But
right?
yet it's violence against violence again.
Yeah.
He's trying to sit there and say, "Well, you did this, and now look what's happening." Now look at this. But in reality, he knows his generation screwed up the next generation. It's like a uh what was it, shitstorm just piling downhill, right? Like when you really think of it. But the but let's go into what okay, let me ask you this. What was your take? One of the scenes that always stick out to me is when Maria and Tony see each other for the first time.
I was gonna thank you for bringing that up because that
Oh,
was one of
that's
my favorite
television.
parts.
I
That's
know
one of
you.
my favorite parts of the movie, dude. Like I think it stood out to me the most. Right? We're in the ballroom
Um,
and then it's like I think it seems like this effect or the way that this was done was so ahead of its time for when this was going on. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen it in a film earlier than this. Maybe, but anyway, there it's the way everyone's in this ballroom together, both groups, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when they lay eyes on each other for the first time, the camera has blurred everything else around them. So as if they're the only two that are in the room together. And
Yeah.
I think that's so beautiful. Like it's so simple also. I mean, just the idea of it, it's very simple portraying it, but I think just the way they did it was absolutely stunning. Like it's just so cool. There were so many visually cool things about this movie. Like just every part, every still shot of this movie could be a photograph or a painting almost. Like if anything you paused in this movie, you can make a painting out of it easily.
Yeah.
Very few movies, especially nowadays, are like that. I mean, was it Lawrence of Arabia is another one that's very good when it comes to that idea of what I'm talking about is visually speaking. But dude, yeah,
That well, the dancing always gets me because there is an iconic actor that I think of in this scene, and this is the only scene you see him in. It is the guy that's like curating the dance or trying to be the host of the dance. You know who that is, right? That's that's what's his face, Gomez Adams from the Adams Family.
Gomez Adams.
Go the
Oh,
original Gomez Adams, the original 1964 version of him.
oh, I don't know then.
You can see the face of him when you see it. Next time you watch this, pay attention to him because when you see him and you listen to his voice, all you can sit there and think of is Gomez Adams. That's exactly, and this is before he was Gomez Adams.
Gomez Adams. Here, sorry, I'm gonna get some drink.
Yeah, like, but that scene, I always like the scene when they're trying to like, oh, hey, we're gonna work with you. Like, hey, we're gonna have you here, right? We want you to get in a circle and dance with the person that comes across, and they still go to the one person.
Right.
But it shows you the different times and the different how they do things and different. It's just weird, but it works so well in that film. The other big part that I really enjoyed, and I'm glad you brought up the shots. The shots in the beginning of this film was like,
Yeah. So with that, the prologue, the 5 minute prologue or whatever the heck that was, absolutely killed me. And the reason why is people nowadays, kids now, I sound like such an old person right now, but I
back in
feel
my
like a lot
day.
of people, a lot of people, no, a lot of people nowadays, especially, well, I'll be guilty of it too, but like if you watch this for the first time, and then you're actually, that you're watching this and you get 5 minutes of just a still shot changing into five different colors, just alternating. I just gets kind of like, what? Like, it's not a good start, is what I'm saying. And I
Well,
feel like it was kind
self-explanatory
of, I
too.
feel like it was kind of lazy. I don't know, lazy, but like is necessarily the word. But it's like this movie is 2.5 hours long. Do we really need to have pointless amount of time just on a still shot of lines? It's like it didn't even make a design until it finally zooms out after 5 minutes of nothing of colors. I mean,
Well, that's their moment where you had like their names pop up or things like that. And they weren't even doing that. They had an intermission in a two and a half
it's just a
hour
black
film.
screen. It's a black screen when it's intermission.
No, it's not. Mine was blue screen. Mine was a blue screen with the still shot from the beginning. And it just said intermission and the underneath it.
Yes, okay, it does that, but then it goes black for a second, I think,
Yeah.
and then it goes to yeah.
And then
Maybe
it
that's
goes
what it
right
was.
to I
Yeah.
feel pretty. But the whole thing in that movie that I didn't like about those two parts is it was playing the music from the next set of parts. So if you were listening to the intermission, you were hearing already, I feel pretty.
Yeah.
Like you're already hearing that. And then even in the prologue of it, you hear, when you're a jet, you have all the music going off. And it's like, okay, why do I need this? I
Well,
get
yeah. It's like I just feel like not the movie, in my opinion, is too long. It really is. Like it
mm,
doesn't need to be 2.5 hours long. It doesn't. Um, I
sound like
mean,
my grandma right now.
Well, no. And I'm not saying that as like I'm not bored watching the movie. Like I'm not. I just don't. I don't know. I just don't think there's certain things about it that just seem pointless, like what we're talking about now.
I
It
get
just
what
seems
you're saying.
like it just seems like wasted time. It's like why do we need to put it in and have it be an even longer movie than it needs to
Well,
be?
see, and I kind of viewed this because like I watched these movies with my grandma growing up, right? And there was one thing she griped about the film. It was the dance sequences. Sometimes those dance sequences go on a little too long.
Yeah.
Like this,
Like the fight scene. There was that fight scene under the bridge.
see, that one was fine. That one didn't bug me, nor did the beginning or like the first song that comes up when you're, like the whole thing when the two gangs meet. That didn't
The
bother.
cops come for the first time.
Yeah, that didn't bug me. The thing that bothered me, this is where I kind of went, okay, get over with it, was when they're meeting after the deaths of Bernardo and Riff.
Yeah.
And when they're having that moment on the bridge when they're all dead, I was like, why do we need this 10-minute scene with them just dancing and singing some songs?
Hmm.
It got a little annoying. I get it. They were looking for Tony. They were looking for all that, but it's like, okay, instead of singing, doing that, I was even reading people's reviews on this, and they were like, after Tony was offed off, instead of them singing right there, why didn't you try to get him to a hospital to try to save his life? Instead, they just let him let him die right there in their arms. It was just like, you got a point, Even the
Yeah.
cops sat there and did nothing. They were just like, just the lights going off. It's like, what the heck is this? The dance sequences went on a little too long. Some of the songs kind of carried on a little bit too.
It did. I mean,
I get it. Some of it was like that dancing, like even though I like the dance when they're at the dance, um, because that's where you get the iconic, like you say, you get the iconic or like them seeing each other for the first time. You see all that, right? But some of
mhm.
that went, okay, do we need all that? Do we
I
need
think I'd like to say this too, because I think a lot of movies back then did this a lot to where there's a lot of movies that you just see like, oh, like when you're browsing through these streaming services, like, okay, yeah, this movie 1954, click on it. It's 2 hours and 23 minutes, and you're reading the plot, and it's like, it doesn't seem like it's that elaborate. Like, what's going, like, what, like, I don't know. I
but
just,
I also think, and there's also like that's why I say I have like two different things I look at it as. That's how I look at it in one way, but then I also look at it in a different way that actually was needed. And hear me out why I say that. You gotta remember there are cultural differences. There are ways that we're looking at it differently. And instead of just looking at skin, we looked at it in different ways in this film. The way
yeah.
they dance, the way they do things, the way they view life. It's all different, and you see that in every scene of the film. Even the dancing scenes, you see them differently. You know, like just the way they do things, the way they handle it. It's actually really unique how they did it.
Isn't it crazy to think that this movie was made 60 years ago?
Yeah.
64 years ago?
Yeah.
That's wild.
And some of these guys are still kicking.
I know I was looking that up earlier. I was like, wow. I mean, at least a lot of the main guys are
Yeah,
still alive.
Natalie Woods is gone, and I believe Bernardo's gone, and Anita.
She died young too. She died at like 43, I
Yeah,
think.
she was young. I know Anita just passed away recently, but I know Tony's still alive. I
Okay.
know the dance curator, the one I just told you that played Gomez Adams in the Adams family, he's still kicking.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of big name people from this, but that's why I said like. But the other thing I want to bring up, you brought this up already, that Tony was your favorite character.
He's one of the younger guys in this movie
Well,
too.
he is, but there's actually a pretty unique thing about him. Okay.
Real quick, how did you feel about a lot of the just production sets in this movie?
Oh, I thought they were great.
Like,
Great.
especially like, I mean, I know we talk about colors and stuff, you know, me, Wes Anderson fan, blah blah blah. But like, I mean,
The
you think
culture.
Wes Anderson watches this and he's like, yeah.
Well, you got to remember too. I think the big thing that we look at too is again, this is another cultural difference situation. How we look at it is okay. You have kind of like the lighter colors and stuff like that for the Jets, while you kind of have darker colors for the Sharks. You see the different color changes, and
Purple. Yeah.
settings really delve into their colors a little bit more. You know,
Yep.
having that, it actually did really well. Um, like I'm trying to remember. Like I always loved like the America song when they're singing in America, up there. Those colors up there were so amazing to see the purple kind of like background. You had all that kind of stuff. It was actually really good.
Uh,
In those moments, it just was a really good thing. The colors, the grittiness still to it,
yep.
but it also gives you that New York vibe that you need.
Well, and I think too is and there's a lot of movies that were like this too, but like the clarity, at least the copy I have, very like the camera quality is great, especially that this movie is six what he said 61, right?
64. Yeah, 61. So
60,
64.
yeah. But like it's insane to think about, and especially like I am watching the scene right now where they're all kind of meeting up within the first 15 minutes. The Jets are in that little alleyway. They kick anybody's out.
Anybody's out.
Um, but like the brick walls and just everything is so it's just so cool. Like it's so simple though, right?
But
I
like
mean,
even how they sketch out the Jets and the Sharks on the
on
street.
the street, and then they're doing their, and then I love how it's kind of like a vertical shot. Like it's kind of like a diamond almost.
When I saw them go down the alley when they're jumping over each other, let me tell you the scene I thought of. I don't know why, but it gave me Charlie and the Chocolate Factory vibes when he's
There
going
was
to the alley. And I'm like, bro, this is a little weird here. Like, I don't get it.
the some of the daytime, I think that daytime gang scene where they all like kind of meet up, like it kind of reminded me of the Anchorman the news war scene.
Yes.
It, I don't know why I kind of got that vibe off of it a little bit. And maybe they did kind of copy it a little bit. I would imagine.
Well, let me talk to you about that prologue scene because you bring up a good point. And since we're on it, I kind of want to bring this up because it's actually kind of a unique trivia point. The scene where they have the two kids playing basketball when they take the basketball away from them, the Jets
Mhm.
do. One of them is goes by the name in real life Kit Culkin, the father of the Culkin brothers.
No way.
That is Kit. That is
Wait,
Macaulay
who is Kit
Culkin.
Culkin?
That is one of the kids that's playing basketball that they
Oh,
took the basketball away from.
oh wow.
Rip the one that he throws it back to, that
Okay.
Riff back to, that's Kit Culkin.
So that's Macaulay Culkin's dad.
Yep.
Wild.
But
Kevin McAllister's actual dad.
exactly. But the other thing I wanted to bring up was Richard Breimer in this. You brought up that you like Tony. Did you actually know Richard actually hated playing this movie, playing this role?
Really, and it's like one of his best movies, probably.
It is the one movie that he's recognized.
That's like that's kind of like a lot of people think Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds hated Boogie Nights. Like his agent is the only one that wanted like recommended he do it. And it's probably one of Burt Reynolds' best roles. In my opinion, I think it is. If you watch the movie just for his character alone, um, and he hated that role, and I think he got nominated for Best Supporting Actor on it. But yeah, going back to what you were saying. I mean, it's kind of very same thing. It's like, and he was a pretty iconic actor too, wasn't
Well, he had some roles
he?
underneath
He
that.
was known. I think he had some TV work too as well, right?
Yeah, like the reasons why they were saying like he didn't like it is he kind of felt miscast. So it was kind of like he even felt like he didn't fit with the vibe with the cast. Um, his background kind of more was another big thing to him. He was a farm boy. He just wasn't happy. Like it was so bad that during the London premiere, halfway through the film, he left.
I just didn't want to watch his own movie.
Well, this gets worse. They were
It gets worse.
they were going to be presented to Queen Elizabeth II,
Oh,
and he didn't even show up. He wasn't
well,
even.
that's a missed opportunity.
Yeah. Now let's
Still to
talk.
meet the queen.
Let's go into, and that's what kind of go into our closing moments of the podcast. Were there other scenes that you enjoyed, or scenes that you did not enjoy?
You know, I wouldn't say there were scenes. There was like some of the Maria scenes with was it Bernardo's girlfriend?
Anita.
I'm Anita. I just some of those I was kind of like, like it just felt, I don't know.
Like Anita,
They dragged on for me. I get they're telling this, they're part of the story and everything, and it's essential. I just there was certain parts like that that were just kind of like dragging along, and I think it alludes back to the fact of what we talked about, right? It seeming like there was certain parts or certain things they could have cut out that made it, a shorter film. Not saying these scenes need to be cut out necessarily. I just say they dragged a little bit.
well,
I really enjoyed the underneath the bridge scene, the knife fight like that we just talked about. I know I kind of was making fun of the way that they were fighting and everything. Besides all that, just from a visual aspect, I think it's cool, like being under that red bridge. And did you kind of notice that red is a very prominent color in this movie
yes,
when it comes to death?
yep. You see
Which
Bernardo wear red, right? You have seen Riff wear red at certain points.
yeah,
They're different shades again, taking
yeah.
like a darker red to a lighter.
The first time that we see Tony with Riff, they're in an alleyway, and if you pay attention, all of the metal railways on the building, all red. It's
Yeah,
all and it's like bright red too.
yeah.
So I think they did a good job. Like what you talked about is they did a really, really good job, especially for this time. It being not a lot of colored films. I think we were starting to kind of get into the more regularly colored film.
Colored, yeah, like
At least
this
within the
is
last
an
8
animated
years or
film,
so.
like a film that had color to it, not
Yeah,
just black and white. It's yeah, like
yeah.
but
I mean, there was a lot of westerns in the 50s that were starting to do that, and then you had Hitchcock doing his stuff too with it later on.
yeah, like
But yeah, like I think it just they do such a good job presenting the meanings of the colors and the um I don't think the brick has anything to do with that. I think that's just it's just the way that they're supposed to depict of where they're at. A lot of brick in New York, I guess, especially that time.
like I'll put it out there, like for me, I really like I'll put it out there because I want to kind of piggyback off to something you said. I really enjoyed Anita in this film. I love Rita Moreno. That is probably one of my favorite roles in this film. Just seeing her depiction of her character, how she's holding this secret from Maria, but in reality, she knows after Bernardo's death that she can't accept that. She can't accept what they were saying. It was like that sense of like, all now I see is hate.
Hmm.
Like, and I love that scene where she even says it. They were right. If I saw someone of you on the streets, I spit at you. It is
Yeah,
a good point to bring up because she didn't look at it that way. She was just, let's make a name for ourselves. The only way we're going to succeed in this world is we make a name, not have them dictate what we can and can't do.
yeah,
But then her view changes. And I really enjoyed that.
yeah. It's a good sense of character development, right? Throughout
Exactly.
the movie. I mean, they do a really good job with a majority of the characters, at least the main characters in this movie, right? A lot with character development.
Like, I'll put it out here, and I know I'll probably get heat. Natalie Woods was not my favorite actress in this film.
Yeah.
She was actually, for her to be the star studded person on this team, she was not the actress that I was really impressed with.
Yeah, not a big standout. I
Tony,
don't
Tony
you
was
think
the
about it.
best to me. And then it goes Riff and Anita to me.
Looking back on it, do you think I don't think Maria has much screen time.
No, not compared.
It doesn't seem like it compared to like the
Anita has more
Bernardos and the
screen
Tony.
time. Yeah, Anita's got more screen time than even Natalie would.
Yeah.
Like having those moments with Anita, it just really does that. Riff does a good job. I really love the scenes with Riff in it because Riff gives you that sense of Mercutio, or I can't remember if that's his. I think that's his name in Romeo and Juliet. Like his best friend, Romeo's best friend, that is killed by Tybalt, who's Bernardo in this film. You know, having those moments, and then you have Doc, who's the priest, and Anita's supposed to be the stand-in for like Juliet's like house, like kind of like not her servant, but like her person, like her nanny, kind of like the person that takes care of her, kind of thing. But Anita was like, when I was reading on it and what they won, both of them deserved their best supporting actors awards. The Anita did, and so did Riff. Both
Hmm.
of them won, or not Riff. Bernardo did won best supporting actor, which I was kind of happy for that. I thought Bernardo was actually a really star-studded person too. Like having those scenes with him, he just gave you that flavor that you wanted. Like it was that, like, like it's sense of you're supposed to hate him, but in reality, you can't really hate him because he speaks from a good point too. You know, it's a way of how everybody changes, and that's why that last scene is so important. Because even though, okay, you're different races, you're all this, right? All you just caused is more hate, and what will hate lead to? More and more. And that last scene when they're carrying Tony's body off, you saw both gangs get in there to help. That was a very powerful moment, and it is still to me one of the most powerful moments in cinema history.
What did he say? Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate.
Hate leads to suffering. But that's a uh,
Yes, yes.
um
We got it, ladies and gentlemen. We got it.
I haven't done that in a while. I'll probably suffer for that later on tonight with my throat, but the way it is. But that's the whole point of this
Oh,
film.
whoa there. We didn't need to know all that. No.
It's just been dry right lately, the but that's the whole point of this film. And that's why I love that last scene. It's like to me, that year had two scenes to me that stand out to me in cinema history. You had that scene where they're carrying off Tony's body. And that last scene by Natalie Wood is probably one of my favorite scenes of her in cinema history.
Hmm.
With her in cinema, not in cinema history, but her last scene where she's telling them, I have a gun now, or I have a pew pew now. Should I? How many bullets do I have left? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
That, and then when they're carrying off that other year, you want to take a shot on what other scene I'm thinking of that
What's
year?
that?
That is Atticus Finch walking out of the courtroom and killing Mockingbird. That was the same year that scene happened. And it was they're just great shots. Now we'll go into our last moments here. We got a few trivia questions for Pat, but we're also going to be ranking the film. Pat, on a scale of 1 to 10, how pretty do you put this movie
Um,
at?
I, I'm gonna go. I'm
I feel pretty.
gonna I'm gonna say I feel a 6.2
Wow,
pretty.
killing me. I actually have this as one of my favorite musicals of all time. This would go up to, for me, an 8.5. This is a really well done film. It still kind of holds up today. Some points are a little cringy, and I agree with you. But that's the whole purpose of the film. It's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. It's supposed to make you understand what this time frame was.
Hmm.
That's why this movie is so important to me. The only reason it's knocked down is because it's just some of the acting from Natalie Wood. I agree. For her to be the star-studded actress, and she's not in it as much as some of the others are, it kind of destroys the purpose.
Hmm.
But yeah, remember in Romeo and Juliet, Romeo is in the film or in the play more than it is Juliet. But again, that's interpretation as well. But let's go into the trivia questions, shall we, Pat? All right. We're going to start you off simple with the trivia questions, and we're going to get a little harder.
I think it's gonna be simple here.
What were the names of the two main gangs in this film?
Oh, sharks and jets.
Okay.
When
Told
you're a jet, you're a jet.
Okay. What was the name of the tomboy that always wanted to be part of Riff's
Anybody's,
anybody's? There you go.
which is my least favorite character of the whole movie.
Wow.
We didn't talk about that,
I
but
don't I don't care. All
kind of annoying,
right.
pestering.
So since you want to love that song so much, finish this lyric.
Oh no.
When you're a jet all the way from your first cigarette to your last blank blank.
Dying breath.
You had dying right.
To your
Try
dying,
try another one. Try another thing when you think dying. What do you think of? When
dying,
you're a jet all the way from your first cigarette to your last dying blank.
dying rest.
Try a word that starts with D.
Dying death.
No. Three-letter word.
Dying day. Oh, I was just trying to rhyme with the jet part. I don't
When
know why.
you're a jet all the way first cigarette to your last dying day.
Day. Oh yeah, I guess that does rhyme.
Okay. Whoa. We know how to whine, okay?
I know how to rhyme.
We know how to
I
whine.
rhyme all the time. Waka 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 waka.
To my first cigarette till my last dying day.
That's not a rhyme.
Which member of the Sharks kills Tony?
Oh man, I'm not good with names. I know it's not.
You
I
tell
don't know.
me who it is or who or like some points in it. I might give it to you.
Some points.
Like he's a prominent character in the movie.
It's not Bernardo because Bernardo's already dead, right?
No, yeah, Bernardo is gone.
Yeah, it's not Bernardo. See, that's the problem is I'm not familiar with the Sharks characters for some reason.
It is Chino.
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 Yep, nope, that was definitely it. And now I feel defeated.
You feel defeated.
This is what happens when you do trivia.
All right. What does Tony stand for? There's a scene where Maria asks Tony, what does Tony stand for? He does respond. What does he respond with?
Oh, and isn't it Antonio?
You're close.
Yeah,
Try to
or
take the I-O off. Anton.
it's Anton. Yeah, yeah.
It's Anton. It's Anton. All right. Here's your last question. I was going to be a jerk, but I actually have a backup question. I was going to be a jerk. Who was the name of the curator of the dance? But I wasn't going to be that much of
When you're a jerk, you're a
a jerk.
jerk.
All the way to my first cigarette to my
To
last.
your last dying day.
Um, hate you.
Oh
All right. Another lyric song.
God.
Officer Krupke, you've done it again. This boy don't need a job. He needs a blank, 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 blank.
Good kick in the pants.
A year in the pen.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't have got that.
That's why I said I this is a film that I've really enjoyed doing with you. I'm excited to kind of see because we are going to do multiples. Like we said, we're going to be doing Singing in the Rain soon. We're going to be doing 1776. We're going to do Sweeney Todd, which fans you're going to get a good preview because I have never seen Sweeney Todd. So this will be my first time doing it.
You've never seen Sweeney Todd?
Never been interested.
What?
At the
It's
time when that
so
movie came
good.
out, I wasn't a Tim Burton fan big time. So at the time, I didn't really care for him. And
Do you
now
like Tim Burton? You like Tim Burton now, right?
I do. Yes. He now sitting down and actually watching his films, it actually does.
You're gonna like this movie. You're gonna be stunned too. You're gonna be like, "Oh my God, there's so many people from Harry Potter in this
Oh, I
movie."
know who's in it. I know
Yeah,
exactly who's in it. But,
yeah.
but we're also going to do In the Heights, which is another Lin-Manuel Miranda play that we're going to be discussing.
I'm excited for 1776. That's gonna be fun too. That's gonna be a lot of fun. I have not seen that one, and I'm going to watch it very soon.
Yeah. And fans, let us know if there are musicals that you would like us to cover in the future. I know, fans, you guys haven't heard the name Wicked. We're going to wait on that a little bit. We're going to give you a Wicked special here soon, hopefully. But fans, if you like this content, you want more of it, remember, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button if you like this content, you want more of it. And also hit that bell notification so you never miss an episode. You can also check us out on Spotify for other great movie content. Also, check us out, J4F Podcast, on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Patty B to take us out.
Yeah, thank you guys for everything. Thank you, B Dog, as always. And remember, we do it just for flicks.